indicating, Mr. President, some of the initiatives that I've been involved with in the Parliament since 1998 really, when I first ventured these hallowed walls. And I think the icing came in 2014 when we passed the Disabilities Act in October of that year. And we were moving full speed to implement the legislation when the elections came in 2016, because one will understand that the legislation is a first timer in Jamaica, and we have to make sure that certain things are put in place in order to accommodate the implementation of the act. But no one, Mr. President, would anticipate that it would have taken 5 years for the Disabilities Act to be implemented. And that has been a big disappointment for me. But notwithstanding my disappointment, Senator Morgan, I have been assisting the administration to make sure that they get it right. And so when yourself and Senator Gale said that the government appointed me to this position, it wasn't an appointment. There was a call for a consultant to draft codes of practice for persons with disabilities. And I am going to take you briefly down through the process because, one, in 2016, they first advertised for a consultant. And I applied. And by 2017, they changed the terms. And after that, there was a re-advertisement, and someone was contracted, and the person that the government had to separate between the then consultant, and they had to re-advertise. And I applied again and came out as the top person for that consultant. And I signed a contract in March of this year, six months for completion of the contract. And I must say, Mr. President, that contract has ended successfully with me completing the codes of practice for employment for persons with disabilities, and those have been handed over to the Ministry of Labor and Social Security. And Mr. President, I never wanted to go there because that never had its place in this debate. But Senator Morgan, you will learn as you go in this process that certain things we don't venture in the Parliament, because I was aware of opposition members when we were in government who got government contract, and we never came to the Senate to deal with those things because that never had its place. But you know, Mr. President, I am very much heartened that some progress is being made, and I am prepared to help the government to ensure that everything is done. Make sure that everything is done for the government to implement the Disabilities Act, because it impacts on me and it impacts on my Jamaican brothers and sisters who Senator Longmore correctly pointed out, are vulnerable individuals and need the sort of support in the society. And we have to do everything possible to make sure that that piece of legislation is brought to the fore for their implementation. And Senator Charles, I spoke to you last week in the debate about the procurement orders that were prepared, and I am prepared to assist in that process as well, because they are very much important. We have to incentivize the private sector to employ persons with disabilities and also to make the necessary modifications to their buildings so that persons with disabilities can access those facilities. And that is why, Senator Morgan, I was very disappointed that after we had our discussion and plan to tour the facilities, the road construction, and you and I agreed, you know, your team went and did a tour of the facility, the road construction, and I mean, I still got complaints after the Prime Minister and his team went and toured those facilities that the roads were still being built without the necessary facilities in place to accommodate persons with disabilities. As a matter of fact, that was what the President spoke about when he mentioned the rails that need to be placed on the sidewalks to accommodate persons with disabilities. And I tell you, a part of the thing that we have to do as a country, we have to include people who know and understand these things in the process. And I tell you, I am blinkered when it comes on to issues with disabilities. I am prepared to assist in whatsoever I can, because I have benefited from my church that have invested in me. I have benefited from the political organization that I have been a part of that have invested in me and given me a voice. I have benefited from the University of the West Indies that have allowed me to consistently practice my skills. And I want to create and be a part of a society that allows persons with disabilities to maximize their full potential. That is what I am about.
That's right.
And so I want to close by saying, Mr. President, persons with disabilities, once they are given the opportunity to, they will excel. They will strive. We have had world individuals across the world who have demonstrated that. When we go to church on Sundays and we sing Redeem, oh, I love to proclaim, we are talking about Fanny Crosby. When we turn on the lights in our home, we are talking about the invention of Thomas Edison. When we travel and go overseas and go to Disney World with our family, we're talking about the work of Walt Disney, who had a learning disabilities. When we go on the dance floor during the Christmas period and dance to various calypso and reggae music, we are dancing to the rhythm of Fab Five, the oldest band in Jamaica, spanning some 50 years. So persons with disabilities have demonstrated that once they are given an opportunity, they will perform and participate. And what we want is to create a parliament that is accessible and inclusive of persons with disabilities, so that it's not going to be just a Floyd Morris stepping through these hollowed walls. But down the road, we will see many more individuals with disabilities becoming members of this honorable parliament. And so, Mr. President, I close and I accept the amendment by Senator Graham, the one amendment. So I want to put the amendment, ask that the amendment be put, and then I will read the revised motion. May it please, Mr. President.
Okay, the amendment, Madam Clerk, would you read the amendment, please? Madam Clerk, you're going to read it, or Senator Brown? No, you read it. So, thank you, Senator Morris. Senator Brown, there is an amendment which you wish to put. Would you put it to the membership, please?
In the first resolution, to read, be it resolved that the report arising from those consultations be tabled and considered by this Honourable Senate.
Yeah.
So that there is a change of the word from adopted to considered.
Yes.
So the motion, the amendment is put. Those in favor?
Aye.
Against? So, Senator Morris, I will now put the motion as amended. Those in favor?
Aye.
Against? The motion is carried. Thank you, Senator Morris. Minister, I think that you have a request of the Senate.
That is so, Mr. President. The request, Mr. President, is for a recommittal of the notices of motions given orally.
Thank you. The question is that the item notices of motions be recommitted. Those in favor? Against?
Mr. President, permission to speak from a seat not usually my own.
Thank you very much, Senator Samuda.
Mr. President, I beg to give notice that at the next meeting of the Senate, I will move the following motion. Be it resolved that the Senate thanks His Excellency, the Governor General, for his gracious speech delivered to both Houses of Parliament on the 14th day of February 2019. Approve the plans and programs outlined in his gracious speech and place on record its appreciation of the performance of the government during the financial year 2018-2019.
Thank you very much, Senator Samuda. Minister?
Mr. President, today was a productive day. And
Oh, I'm sorry. No, it's not.
no,
It's not put.
yes. We're about to close off. Mr. President,
1 minute, Senator Charles. No. Thank you. Okay. Sorry, go ahead, Senator.
I was saying, Mr. President, that today was a very important day, not just with the presence of the students here, but I think we could not close without reaffirming how important the motion placed by our colleague, Senator Dr. Morris, was, and as a reflection of where we need to go as a country. There is unity of purpose, and when we have unity of purpose, we achieve a lot of good. So we have to reiterate that whether physical, mental, or intellectual, or sensory impairment, nothing we do should hinder the full and equitable participation of persons with disabilities in our society. Mr. President, there's no further business to be done today, and so I ask for the adjournment of the Senate until a date to be set.
Thank you very much, Minister. The question is that the Senate be adjourned for a date to be fixed. Those in favor? Against?
like to see every crime finish in Jamaica. And the children them, oh boy, it would be a happy world for them. Jamaica is very beautiful and nice, you know. There is nowhere like home. This place is paradise.